Okay, hello everybody. So today we're going to discuss the final video for Chapter 5, Section 1. And today I'm going to go over how to calculate what your student loan payment will be after you go to school and take on debt for going to school. So, for most of you, this is a pretty serious consideration here in the next either 2 or 3 months, or maybe a little bit more than a year away, that you need to figure out where you're going to go to school and how much money will you be borrowing to go to school, because most of us are not going to be able to afford to just pay out of pocket to go to school. And we need to figure out what our monthly loan repayment will be. That 4 years of college, or 6, or maybe 8, or even 2 for some of you, is going to go really fast. And as soon as that time is up, the bill comes in the mail. I think it's within about 6 months of when you graduate and you are no longer going to school, you will start receiving your monthly bill for paying back your loans. So, an important consideration is how much money to borrow for school. It is incredibly important to make sure that you are not borrowing too much money, because you can, and it will put you in a very bad financial position if you borrow too much money. And when you graduate, you are not able to make those payments and then be able to support yourself independently. And it happens to a lot of students. And so, in the next project that we're going to do, we're going to examine how much money people are going to borrow, and then whether it's too much for the particular profession that they're choosing to go into. So the formula for calculating monthly loan payment is what you see in front of you. It's the payment, which is P times M over 1 minus parentheses 1 plus M to the negative N. And it says where M is I over 12. So there's a lot going on there. I want to explain each of the variables, and then I'm going to give you an example. So the first thing to understand is this formula. It gives you your payment based on how much debt you have. P is going to be the principal loan amount, meaning that is how much money that you have borrowed to go to school. And when you graduate at 4 years, you're going to have a chunk of money that is owed back. And that is that amount for P. M is going to be called the monthly interest rate. And if you look right over here, it shows you how to calculate the monthly interest rate. M is calculated simply by taking the interest rate in decimal form and dividing it by 12. N is the number of total number of payments that you want to make. So if you think about, if you, let's say you owe a sum of money, let's say it's $10,000. If you take more payments to pay it back, your payment amount is going to be of less amount. If you want to take less payments to pay it back, then your payments are going to be bigger. So this number right here is very important, because it is how we determine how many payments we're going to be making. Now, the basic general rule is for student loans that you'll pay on your student loans for about 20 years after you graduate. And so we'll do a problem where I show you how to figure out that number. So here's an example. It says a student just graduated college with $50,000 in school loans. They locked in at 5% interest for 15 years. How much of their pay should be budgeted for school loan repayment? So 5% is not too far off of where the federal student loan, the current interest rate is. I believe it is, I looked it up the other day, and I believe currently this year in 2021, it is at about 4.5% is where the student loan interest currently is. Now that fluctuates. It fluctuates from year to year. And as I'll show you in a person when we're talking live, that can vary from year to year, and your payment is very dependent on where that interest rate is whenever you graduate. So this particular problem, this student has $50,000 of debt. They have a 5% interest, and they want to pay it back in 15 years. So there's a couple things we need to do first. That first thing is we need to figure out what our monthly interest rate is. Our monthly interest rate is simply found by taking the interest rate. In this case, it's 5%. 5%, though, written as a decimal, is 0.05 divided by 12. And so that gives me a monthly interest rate when I do 0.05, 0.05 divided by 12, we get 0.0041 and then 6 repeating. So 0.004167. So I'm going to go out to 6 decimal points. It is pretty important for the accuracy of your payment. So I'm going to go 6 decimal points there. So 0.004167. So that's my monthly interest rate. Now I'm going to go ahead and proceed to fill in the rest of the information into the main formula. So the principal amount is 50,000 times M, in this case, is 0.004167. And then I'm going to divide that by 1 minus, in parentheses, 1 plus M, again, 0.004167, to the negative N. And the negative N is the number of payments. You make a loan payment once a month. That's when the bill comes in the mail, once a month. So if you are going to pay for 15 years on that loan once a month, to figure out the number of payments, you would take 15 years and multiply that by 12 months because you pay once per month. So there is the full formula. Now, trying to type that entire thing into a calculator is not an easy task. Therefore, I would highly suggest that you work at this in chunks. So I'm going to start by just doing 50,000, and I'm going to multiply by 0.004167. Now, when I do that, I get 208.35. So that's going to be my top number, 208.35. Now, on the bottom, this is a bit trickier. We're going to start with 1 minus, then parentheses, 1 plus 0.004167, close that parentheses, and then use the caret. Again, the TI-83 people, you will need to put parentheses around this, negative 15 times 12. And you can close out your parentheses if you need to use them, and then hit enter. Now that number is, we're going to go to 6 decimal places again, 0.526925. So there are our two numbers that we now need to divide. 208.35 divided by 0.526925. And you can see this gives me a grand total of $395.41. So that's your payment every month for 15 years. You will pay $395.41 every month. Now, the question becomes, how much money do you end up paying back? The bank is not loaning you money out of the graciousness of their heart. They are loaning you money because they are trying to make money on you. So that payment, the $395.41 that you make every month for 15 years, by the time that you're done, after the end of 15 years, you will have paid them more money back than you borrowed. So let's keep in mind, you borrowed $50,000. How can you figure out how much money you will pay them back? It's quite simple. You take the amount of money that you're paying them back and you multiply it by the number of payments that you're going to make. So if you recall, in that problem, you're going to pay once a month for 15 years. So if you take 12 months times 15 years and you multiply it by your monthly payment, you will get the total amount money that you pay the bank back. But you're going to say, wait a second, I didn't borrow that much money. That's $71,173.80. Well, let's look at how much you borrowed. They borrowed $50,000, but you end up paying the bank back $71,173.80. That is the interest. That's what the bank charges you for the privilege of borrowing money from them. And how do you know exactly how much money that you are paying them back in interest? You just simply take the amount that you pay them back and you subtract $50,000 from that. And when you do that, you get $21,173.80. This right there is the amount extra that you pay back to the bank for the privilege of borrowing their money. When in actuality, it's not even really their money, it's somebody else's money that they have it saved in the bank, that the bank is then loaning you. The bank's just acting as a middleman or woman. So this is really important for people to understand that when you borrow a set amount of money, you will pay a substantial amount of money back on top of what you borrowed because of interest rates. And you can see the next slide shows you exactly what I just showed you. You take how much you paid back and you subtract away how much you had originally borrowed, and you will get your amount of interest. So that's the example that I wanted to show you. Your task is going to be to complete page 2 in the attached packet, and it's going to be doing just what I showed you. So as always, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Have a great day.